Hey guys, don't forget to check out Dragon Ball Infinity on the DaoofDragonBall.com. It's a story I wrote and produced with the help of Copy Workshop about a young Saiyan boy based on a character from Egyptian mythology who was a monkey god very similar to Sun Wukong from Journey to the West, who was an actual god of destruction. This story actually plays very heavily on Egyptian lore. It also makes references to Journey to the West due to the fact that the legend of Journey to the West and the story of Babi, the Egyptian baboon god, have a lot in common. So if you're interested, don't forget to check it out on the DaoofDragonBall.com, hosted by Derek Padula. And also don't forget to check out Derek Padula's many articles breaking down the many cool spiritual and scientific aspects of Dragon Ball, as well as its relevance in pop culture and different really cool aspects of Dragon Ball that are really fun to read about. Derek does a great job with his articles, so I would highly recommend you check out this website. And don't forget to check out his Dragon Ball culture books available now. Thanks a lot, and I appreciate the support. So have Goku and Vegeta reached the peak of their physical capabilities in terms of their abilities as a martial artist and as a chi user? In Dragon Ball Super Chapter 93, Vegeta says something to the effect of, "Our physical bodies have long since been honed to their limits. In that respect, our training already made us on par with those opponents." And of course, you know the rest. They're trying to teach their bodies to be able to relax and attack and use the maximum amount of their power at the last moment. I did a whole video about this, but today's topic is about whether or not Goku and Vegeta have reached their actual peak in terms of their capabilities as fighters. Well, not exactly. See, if you take Vegeta's words at face value, it's very easy to get confused and think that that's what he meant, but that's actually not what he's saying, and I'll give you an example of why. So, in Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama has always made it clear that there are limits to physical strength. There are limits to what your body is capable of, and the only way that you can surpass those limits is to surpass your limits as a chi user, as your ability to control and use your chi. So essentially what Vegeta is saying here is he's saying that their bodies themselves have been honed to their physical limit. Meaning, like, it's sort of like if you worked out and you just reached your peak physically. That's essentially what Vegeta is saying. He's saying that they have trained and worked out and done everything they need to in order to make their bodies in peak physical shape. He's actually not suggesting that the Saiyans have reached any sort of limit. He's just saying in terms of honing their bodies to be strong, tough, fast, agile. They've done all of that pretty much to the max, which is why Vegeta has decided to start focusing on the mind, because he feels that they have completely honed their bodies to the max. And this actually makes sense, especially if you consider the developments during the Moro arc, whenever Goku honed his body by essentially abusing himself in the time chamber with Mirrors. He essentially honed his body to the point that he was able to withstand the chi that comes with the Ultra Instinct transformation. And so that's essentially what Vegeta is referencing here. And that was the reason that Vegeta was boundless as an Ultra Ego user, and that's also the reason that Goku can use Ultra Instinct without the drawback of the shock that he felt during the Tournament of Power in the anime whenever his body wasn't ready to withstand the amount of energy Ultra Instinct offered him. Now that their bodies are at peak physical condition, that does not mean that they can't break the limits of their base form and how much chi they can withhold within their base form. Essentially, their bodies are just in peak physical condition in the sense that they can withstand any amount of chi that they deal with from this point on in the series. And that's very important because, again, Ultra Instinct essentially caused Moro and Goku to experience a massive amount of chi that built up automatically as they were fighting in order to match up to each other. Due to the fact that they were both Ultra Instinct users, Moro didn't really have an issue with the energy overflowing and almost destroying his body until he started fighting Goku. And then, of course, Ultra Instinct, in order to respond, started to try and surpass Goku's Ultra Instinct. And as a result, he almost destroyed himself because Ultra Instinct simply trying to do its thing and adapt to and react to the opponent that he's facing almost cost Moro his life because his body was not honed to the point that he could withstand the amount of chi that Ultra Instinct itself was producing. But this is also very important in terms of Goku's new variant of Ultra Instinct and also Ultra Ego, because both actually cause Goku and Vegeta to get stronger as they fight. We saw firsthand with Bardock that Saiyans have the ability to evolve and get stronger as they fight when they push past their limits. When their heart is beating like crazy and their Saiyan body is telling them that their life is in danger, they have the ability to continuously grow and get stronger. So really, Goku and Vegeta's bodies being at their peak, all it really does for them at this point is it makes it to where they can withstand the massive amount of chi that they're going to have access to as they hone and get into the groove of using these ultra techniques. Because these ultra techniques are boundless. They don't have a limit to the amount of energy that they can provide the user. And so their bodies being at their physical peak is actually a requirement in this case. They actually have to have that going on. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to use the ultra techniques efficiently, and they would have a problem very similar to Moro. Now, in the Granola arc, Goku actually ended up essentially activating the state that he saw from Bardock at will, and ended up mixing that with his Ultra Instinct form to create his own true version of Ultra Instinct. And that's a very interesting thought. It's a very interesting idea because it suggests that it's possible for Vegeta and Goku outside of their God techniques in their base forms to eventually take advantage of this same ability that Bardock took advantage of whenever he was facing Gas without having to rely on their God techniques. Now, of course, the God techniques make them boundless. They give them the ability to essentially create an infinite amount of chi that grows and grows and grows as they fight and adapt to their opponent. But that does not mean that they can't break the limits of their bodies, just like Bardock did, and eventually make it to where their bodies can overall produce more chi due to the fact that they have evolved. And this could serve as a means of essentially making Goku and Vegeta ridiculously overpowered in their base form. This could actually serve to help Goku and Vegeta not have to rely on their God techniques completely in order to evolve and grow and get stronger as fast as Bardock did as they fight without the God techniques. So that's a very, very interesting thought. They could actually go with that, since they seem to be building up to Goku and Vegeta using both of these techniques in their base form, or always being in these states. And Dende points out in the Moro arc that Goku has already reached essentially a godly tier in power in terms of how much chi his body can actually withhold. That was the entire reason that Dende had a hard time healing Goku, because Goku had gotten so strong that he essentially has enough chi to match a god in his base form at that point. So he's already ridiculously strong, not just in terms of like his body being at its actual peak, but also the amount of chi his body can just hold at a base level is just ridiculously high at this point. But I want to make it very clear that that does not mean that Goku or Vegeta are incapable of breaking their limits and essentially making it to where they can hold more overall chi in their base form in the future. That is not what this little panel right here is saying at all. That is not what's being suggested here. What's being suggested here is that Goku and Vegeta are at their actual physical peak in terms of their physical capabilities outside of chi control. So just because they're at their physical peak in terms of like basically what you could achieve in real life when it comes to working out your body and making your body at its physical peak, just because they're at their physical peak in that sense does not mean that they can't continue to grow and get stronger. It just means that in terms of making their body tougher, stronger, more agile, faster, etc., they're pretty much at their peak in every sense when it comes to training their bodies. And again, that's the reason that Vegeta has chose to focus on the mind, because he understands that essentially they cannot make their bodies any tougher. They can't toughen up their bodies or make their bodies any stronger through just training alone. They're going to have to focus on their ability to be able to withhold more chi. They're going to have to focus on their ability to build up more chi, and that is the future of their development. And I've noticed that this all has caused a bit of confusion. I remember whenever this panel dropped, a lot of people were very, skeptical of this line, because it's so polar opposite to what Vegeta says in the anime when it comes to the Dragon Ball Super portion of the Tournament of Power. Vegeta actually openly states that Saiyans have no limits. And he's right. It's just that Saiyans have no limits in terms of the amount of chi that they can hold as they break their limits and grow stronger and evolve in that way. As I talked about in my Evolution of the Saiyan Race video, chi and the Saiyan's ability to evolve are both connected to one another. And that is the reason that, despite the fact that Vegeta has stated here that they have reached their physical peak in terms of their bodies, that does not mean that they can't get any stronger in their base forms, nor does it mean that they can't get any stronger in terms of using their God techniques, because Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct are both adaptive and reactive techniques that essentially offer Vegeta and Goku an infinite amount of chi as they adapt to and react to their opponents. And that was the reason that it was such a necessity here that Vegeta tells the audience that their bodies are at their absolute peak, because that doesn't cause any issues in terms of why Goku and Vegeta are now capable of withstanding these god techniques and the massive amount of chi that each technique offers them. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.